The night was thick with an inky darkness as Mark navigated the winding roads through the dense forest. Raindrops splattered against the windshield, creating a distorted view of the desolate landscape. The only company he had was the rhythmic hum of the engine and the intermittent patter of rain. Mark, a weary traveler returning from a distant city, found solace in the solitude of the night drive. The solitude, however, was shattered when a figure materialized in his headlights, standing in the middle of the road. Startled, Mark slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding as he brought the car to a screeching halt. The rain intensified, creating a curtain of water that obscured the mysterious figure. Through the downpour, Mark strained his eyes, attempting to discern any details. As the rain subsided, the figure slowly emerged, revealing a woman in a tattered white gown. Her long, wet hair clung to her face, obscuring it from view. Mark, feeling a mixture of concern and curiosity, rolled down his window. The woman stood there, drenched and silent. "Are you okay?" he called out over the persistent drumming of rain. No response. Unease crept up Mark's spine, but compassion overpowered his trepidation. He offered her a ride, sensing an urgency in her silent demeanor. She nodded, and with a grateful yet haunting smile, she entered the back seat. The scent of damp earth and an inexplicable chill filled the car as Mark resumed his journey. The woman's silence persisted, and Mark attempted small talk to break the eerie atmosphere. However, she remained stoic, her gaze fixed on the rain-streaked window. Mark's unease deepened, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As they approached a desolate stretch of road surrounded by gnarled trees, the woman's demeanor shifted. She began whispering in a language unfamiliar to Mark, her words carrying an otherworldly resonance. The air in the car thickened, and Mark's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Suddenly, the woman's head snapped toward him, her eyes piercing through the darkness. The pupils glowed an unnatural shade, and a malevolent force seemed to emanate from her very being. Mark's pulse quickened as he realized he was no longer driving alone. Panicking, he tried to pull over, but the car seemed to resist his commands. The forest outside transformed into a nightmarish realm, shadows dancing with a sinister life of their own. The woman's whispers grew louder, blending with eerie whispers that echoed through the car, a chorus of voices from beyond. In a desperate bid to escape, Mark slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to an abrupt halt. The woman's whispers reached a fevered pitch, and the car's interior pulsated with an unnatural energy. The windows fogged with ghostly apparitions, faces contorted in pain, reaching out as if pleading for release. Terrified, Mark abandoned the car and fled into the rainy night. Behind him, the woman's haunting whispers merged with the tortured cries of the spectral figures, creating a cacophony of despair. As he stumbled through the rain-soaked forest, the car, now possessed by an otherworldly force, slowly disappeared into the abyss. Mark's night drive, initially a journey of solitude, became an encounter with the supernatural. The memory of the spectral woman and the haunted whispers would forever linger, a chilling reminder that some roads lead not only through the physical realm, but into the realms of darkness that dwell beyond. It was a moonless night when Emma decided to take a solo drive along the desolate stretch of highway that wound through the dense, eerie forest outside her small town. The road, known as Hollowshade Highway, had a reputation for strange occurrences and ghostly sightings, but Emma dismissed it all as local folklore. Little did she know that this night would become a chapter in the haunting legends whispered around town. As Emma cruised along the empty road, the only illumination came from her car's headlights cutting through the impenetrable darkness. Tall trees loomed on either side, their branches forming a shadowy canopy overhead. The silence was broken only by the rhythmic hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. Miles into her solitary journey, Emma spotted a hitchhiker on the side of the road. Wary but compassionate, she pulled over to offer assistance. The figure, cloaked in darkness, approached slowly. The hitchhiker's face remained hidden beneath the hood of a tattered cloak. The moment the stranger entered the car, an uneasy stillness settled over Emma. The hitchhiker's presence seemed to swallow the warmth from the vehicle, leaving a chilling void in its wake. Despite the stifling atmosphere, Emma attempted small talk, but the mysterious passenger remained silent, their gaze fixed on the road ahead. As they drove deeper into the heart of the forest, the air thickened with an unsettling tension. Emma's surroundings became increasingly disorienting, the twisted trees forming a labyrinth of shadows. She couldn't shake the feeling that the hitchhiker harbored a dark secret, hidden beneath the folds of their cloak. Suddenly, the hitchhiker spoke, their voice a haunting whisper that sent shivers down Emma's spine. They recounted a tragic tale of a fatal accident that had occurred on this very highway years ago. The details mirrored an infamous local legend, the ghostly highway. Emma's grip on the steering wheel tightened as the story unfolded, each word echoing with a spectral resonance. With each passing mile, the atmosphere within the car grew more oppressive. Emma's headlights flickered intermittently, casting fleeting glimpses of ethereal shapes on the roadside. The hitchhiker's presence seemed to transcend the physical, as if they were a conduit for the spirits that lingered in the shadows. As they approached an old, dilapidated bridge, the hitchhiker abruptly demanded that Emma stop. Reluctantly, she complied, the eerie silence engulfing them once more. The hitchhiker pointed to the dark waters below, revealing a ghostly apparition, the restless soul of the accident victim, condemned to wander the highway. Bone-chilling realization gripped Emma. The hitchhiker was not just a storyteller, but a spectral guide, leading her to the heart of the ghostly highway legend. Panicking, she attempted to flee, but the car refused to start. The hitchhiker's hooded gaze intensified, and the ghostly apparitions closed in. In a desperate bid for escape, Emma fled the vehicle and ran into the forest, the chilling wind echoing with the anguished cries of the trapped spirits. The forest seemed alive with a malevolent energy, the trees contorting into grotesque forms. Emma stumbled through the darkness, haunted by the whispers of the past. As the first light of dawn broke, Hollowshade Highway returned to an ordinary, desolate road. Emma, disheveled and shaken, emerged from the forest, the spectral hitchhiker nowhere to be seen. The legend of the ghostly highway had claimed another witness, leaving Emma forever haunted by the spectral journey that unfolded in the dead of night. The night was cast in an eerie glow beneath the silvery light of a full moon. Michael, a weary traveler, found himself driving down a desolate stretch of highway surrounded by thick woods. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic tapping of raindrops on the roof were the only companions in the darkness. As Michael navigated the winding road, the dense fog seemed to creep in from the shadows, cloaking the surroundings in an impenetrable mist. His headlights carved feeble paths through the thick air, casting ghostly beams that played tricks on the edges of his vision. The radio crackled with static, and the signal faded away into an unsettling silence. Feeling of unease settled in Michael's chest. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, trying to shake off the discomfort that prickled at the back of his neck. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the roadside. A hitchhiker, drenched and shivering in the cold rain. Michael hesitated but eventually pulled over. The stranger climbed into the back seat, their face obscured by the hood of a tattered cloak. "Thanks for stopping," the low, raspy voice muttered from the shadows beneath the hood. "I've been waiting for a ride." Michael nodded, uneasy, and continued driving. The silence in the car felt oppressive, broken only by the sound of raindrops drumming on the roof. He stole glances at the rearview mirror, but the hitchhiker's face remained hidden. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the fog thickened, creating an otherworldly landscape. The atmosphere became charged with an unspoken tension, and Michael felt a growing sense of dread. The hitchhiker's whispers, barely audible, filled the car like a haunting melody. "You shouldn't have come this way," the voice murmured, sending shivers down Michael's spine. "These woods hold secrets, and the night hides more than you can imagine." Unease turned to fear as the surroundings transformed into a surreal dreamscape. Trees contorted into grotesque shapes, and shadows danced along the edges of the road, taking on unsettling forms. Michael questioned the reality of his night drive, wondering if he had entered a realm between the living and the dead. The hitchhiker's whispers grew more insistent, revealing tales of a tragic accident that had claimed countless lives on this cursed stretch of road. A sinking realization gripped Michael. The hitchhiker was no ordinary traveler, but a spirit trapped in the haunting limbo of the woods. Desperation clawed at him as he tried to escape the ghostly presence, but the fog seemed to tighten its grip, obscuring the path ahead. The car's engine groaned under the weight of an unseen force, and the temperature inside the vehicle plummeted. As Michael's panic escalated, the hitchhiker's whispers turned accusatory. "You awakened the shadows. Now you're one of us, trapped in this eternal night." The car slowed to a crawl, surrounded by a suffocating silence broken only by the hitchhiker's haunting words. The headlights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to reach out for Michael. In a desperate bid for escape, he slammed his foot on the gas pedal, the engine roaring to life. The highway twisted and turned like a labyrinth, the fog closing in until Michael couldn't see beyond the hood of the car. He felt a chill in the air as ghostly figures materialized in the mist, their mournful eyes staring into his soul. In a final, desperate attempt, Michael burst through the thick fog, emerging on the other side of the woods. The moonlit night, once haunting, now held a serene beauty. The hitchhiker's whispers faded, leaving only the distant hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of raindrops on the roof. As Michael drove away from the cursed woods, the weight of the supernatural encounter lingered. The night drive had taken him to the edge of reality, where the veil between the living and the dead was thin. He glanced back at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the hooded figure still sitting in the back seat, but the car was empty. The whispering shadows had released their grip, but the memory of that fateful night would forever haunt Michael, a spectral reminder of the thin line that separates the world of the living from the realm of the supernatural. The night was draped in darkness as Mark Wilson, a weary traveler, embarked on a desolate highway that cut through miles of dense woods. The only company he had was the rhythmic hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by the chilling wind. An eerie sense of isolation hung in the air, amplified by the intermittent flickering of the car's headlights. Mark, with his eyes fixed on the winding road, couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were watching him from the shadows. The dense forest seemed to encroach upon the asphalt, its towering trees looming like silent sentinels guarding a forbidden secret. The occasional glint of moonlight through the branches cast eerie shapes on the road ahead. As he drove deeper into the night, the road stretched endlessly, each mile feeling longer than the last. A thick fog slithered in, cloaking the highway in a spectral haze. Mark squinted, struggling to discern the road ahead. The dense mist seemed to distort reality, transforming the familiar into a haunting dreamscape. His fuel gauge dipped ominously low, prompting Mark to glance anxiously at the desolate surroundings. A faded sign indicated a gas station a few miles ahead. A sense of relief washed over him as the prospect of refueling became his primary focus. The gas station materialized from the mist like a spectral outpost. Its flickering neon sign spelled "Last Stop." The building, weathered and abandoned, exuded an unsettling silence. Mark hesitated but decided to pull in, his car grinding to a halt beneath the dim glow of a flickering street lamp. The gas station, with its cracked windows and faded paint, creaked as if mourning its own abandonment. Mark cautiously approached the rusty pump, its nozzle coated in a layer of grime. He fumbled with his wallet, extracting a few crumpled bills to feed into the old machine. As Mark fueled his car, a sudden chill ran down his spine. The night seemed to intensify its grip, and the woods whispered secrets that only the wind could decipher. Uneasy, he scanned the surroundings, half expecting a phantom figure to emerge from the shadows. With the tank finally filled, Mark turned to return to his car. That's when he heard it. An ethereal melody, soft and haunting, carried by the wind. It echoed through the trees, teasing at the edge of his perception. Intrigued and unnerved, he followed the ghostly tune into the woods. The melody led him deeper into the shadows, where the moonlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. Mark's footsteps were muffled by a thick carpet of fallen leaves, and the air grew heavier with each passing moment. The haunting notes guided him to a long-forgotten cemetery nestled in the heart of the forest. Tombstones, weathered by time, stood like silent witnesses to forgotten lives. The ghostly melody emanated from a weathered piano near the center of the graveyard. Its keys moved with spectral grace, untouched by human hands. Mark, transfixed by the otherworldly performance, felt an inexplicable connection to the ethereal pianist. As the last note hung in the air, the cemetery fell into an eerie silence. Mark's heart pounded in his chest as a figure materialized before him, a spectral woman in a tattered gown, her eyes reflecting a melancholic longing. She gestured towards a faded photograph nestled on a tombstone. In the photograph, Mark recognized the woman, her smile frozen in time. A sense of recognition and sorrow washed over him. The ghostly pianist had once been a living soul, lost to the shadows of the night. The haunting melody was her eternal lament, echoing through the desolate highway. A distant howl pierced the silence, snapping Mark back to reality. The ghostly woman faded into the night, leaving him alone in the graveyard. The wind whispered its secrets once more, carrying the tales of lost souls and forgotten tragedies. As Mark retraced his steps back to the highway, the fog lifted, revealing the road ahead. The moon cast a silvery glow, turning the forest into a serene landscape. The desolate highway, once shrouded in mystery, now stretched ahead, inviting him to continue his journey into the unknown. Haunted by the spectral encounter, Mark drove through the night, the memory of the ghostly pianist etched into his soul. The desolate highway, with its winding path and eerie whispers, became a haunting melody that echoed in the recesses of his mind, a reminder of the ephemeral boundary between the living and the lost. The clock struck midnight as Alex, a weary traveler, navigated the desolate highway cutting through the heart of a dense forest. The only companions were the rhythmic hum of the engine and the intermittent tapping of rain against the car roof. Visibility was reduced to the narrow beam of the headlights, casting eerie shadows on the trees that loomed over the road like silent sentinels. The radio crackled with static, offering nothing but distorted fragments of songs long forgotten. Alex tried to focus on the music, a feeble attempt to drown out the solitude that accompanied the night drive. The forest seemed to swallow the car, enveloping it in an impenetrable darkness that extended beyond the reach of the headlights. As the miles passed, unease settled in the pit of Alex's stomach. The road, once a monotonous stretch of asphalt, began to twist and turn like a serpent through the heart of the sinister woods. The GPS displayed a route that didn't match the familiar roads on the map. Confused and increasingly anxious, Alex contemplated pulling over to reassess the situation. Just as the decision was made, the car sputtered and coughed, headlights flickering before extinguishing completely. Panic set in as Alex coasted to a stop on the side of the desolate road. The forest, now an impenetrable wall of darkness, pressed in from all sides. The rain intensified, a torrential downpour that seemed to mock the stranded traveler. With a reluctant sigh, Alex reached for the flashlight in the glove compartment and stepped out into the cold night. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the sound of raindrops echoing through the dense canopy. Illuminated by the feeble beam of the flashlight, the forest appeared more foreboding than ever. The faint glow of a distant structure caught Alex's attention. Dilapidated gas station emerged from the shadows, its neon sign flickering weakly. Grateful for a potential lifeline, Alex approached cautiously, the rain-soaked gravel crunching beneath each step. The gas station's bell jingled as Alex pushed open the rusted door, revealing a dimly lit interior frozen in time. Shelves lined with dusty snacks and expired canned goods hinted at a place long forgotten. The sole attendant behind the counter, a withered figure with hollow eyes, stared ahead as if trapped in a perpetual trance. "Lost, are ya?" the attendant mumbled, his voice coarse and distant. "Folks like you always end up here." Alex, unnerved by the cryptic statement, attempted to ask for directions. The attendant merely pointed towards an old rotary phone on the counter. With a shaky hand, Alex dialed for help, but the only response was the ominous echo of the dial tone reverberating through the empty station. The attendant, now standing at the entrance, peered into the night with an intensity that sent shivers down Alex's spine. "You can't leave," he muttered, a trace of sorrow in his voice. "Not until they've had their due." As the words hung in the air, the flickering neon sign outside revealed obscured figures emerging from the shadows. Silhouettes of people, their eyes hollow and faces obscured, approached the gas station with an eerie determination. Panic surged as Alex tried to escape, but the door seemed to have sealed itself shut. The ghostly figures surrounded Alex, their silent presence suffocating. Their hands reached out, cold and insubstantial, as if trying to claim something long lost. Alex felt an overwhelming dread, realizing that these were the spirits of those who had vanished on this haunted stretch of road. In a desperate attempt to break free, Alex stumbled backward, crashing into a shelf. The impact dislodged an old photo frame, revealing a decades-old newspaper article detailing a series of mysterious disappearances along the very road they now stood upon. The gas station, frozen in time, was a macabre monument to the lost souls who wandered into its grasp. As the ghostly figures closed in, the flickering neon sign outside revealed the faces of those who had vanished before, frozen in time, their last moments etched into the supernatural fabric of the desolate road. Alex, now a reluctant addition to the spectral procession, joined the haunting night drive, the car now a phantom vessel navigating the twisted path through the heart of the haunted forest. The rain continued to fall, washing away the traces of the living and the lost, leaving behind only the echoes of a road that claimed those who dared to traverse its forsaken path.